Hey, what's up guys? It's Scott Romacker. Hey, today I want to talk to those who are kind of new to the industry, that are getting into the landscape lighting world, and talk a little bit about some of the basic things that you'll need to know about a lot of these transformers that look very similar to what I have right here in front of me today, and let you kind of know what's going on inside and some of the things that you should be testing for. All right, so first thing that you're going to kind of see in here at the top is actually this loop with it's an adapter and what this is actually in here for. So one thing to know that this is actually a loop that will complete the circuit for the transformer. So if this is not installed, this transformer will not operate. This will not come on. So this has to be plugged in at all times unless you're going to be running a photocell that will have an attachment that looks very much just like this one, and the photocell can actually mount on the side of the actual box, and it'll read obviously, you know, dusted on and turn your transformer on and off. So for your transformer to operate, you'll either need to have that transformer plugged in, or you're going to need to have this loop plugged in as well too. When you're testing for the transformer, and you are going to be, once you get it loaded up with your lights and there's a load on the transformer, you can actually use your amp probe meter, and you can take the claw piece and go between the actual loop here, and you'll get a reading. That reading is going to tell you on the primary side, which is the high voltage side, how many amps are actually being used with a load on it. Up here, a lot of the transformers are going to have a little sticker here, and it'll tell you what that amperage reading needs to be on the primary side. On this particular transformer, it tells us 2.5 amps for the primary side. So once you do your reading, as long as you're at 2.5 amps or less, you should be just fine. Another thing that you're going to notice in here is there's a little white toggle switch. This toggle switch, it's not just a little switch to turn your transformer on and off. It's actually doing something, and it's actually a fuse that's behind here that is protecting the secondary side of the transformer. So everything that you're working on, from the transformer out to all your lights, it's kind of controlling that. And what you'll notice is there's an on and off switch, and when it's on, obviously your lights are going to work. If it's ever kicked off, the lights will not come on at all. The toggle switch needs to be in the up position to operate. Now, what it does is it protects things. It protects the amperage that you actually get that come into the transformer on the secondary or the low voltage side. So when you're doing your testing for your low voltage lines that are coming in after you have a load onto the transformer, you can look on your transformer. Most of them are very similar. A lot of them are gonna have, and they're gonna tell you what size transformer you have, and then they'll have a little chart here that will let you know what the amperage reading needs to be or less. So for this particular transformer, on the secondary side, they tell me that I need to have 25 amps or less when I go to test this particular transformer. And this is a 300 watt transformer, just so you know. So if I were to exceed 25 total amps going in on all my lines, when I test all my lines into the transformer, if I exceed that 25 amps, what's gonna happen is that it might not happen immediately, but it's going to, within a minute or so, trip this secondary fuse. And that's a very good sign when it's a slow blow, is what I kind of call that. When it takes a minute, it's operating for about 30-40 seconds and then turns off. That's a real good sign that you've got too much amperage on your secondary side. Another thing that you'll actually see with this particular toggle switch is you will actually see when you plug it in, or the transformer gets power in an instant load, it trips immediately. And that's usually the indication that two wires are actually touching somewhere. It could be a break in the wire. You might want to check, you know, if there was any type of digging that were done on a property. Maybe some landscapers were cutting in some landscape beds, and where the wire transitioned from the grass into the actual mulch, they nicked that wire. Anything where you have the two sides touching bare copper to bare copper, that will create a straight short, just like that. Also, another place that you can also maybe sometimes see a short is that when you're taking these wires and you're putting them into this cabinet, you know, this is stranded wire and you can kind of see they can fray out. So if they're not wound tight and not neatly placed into here, sometimes right in here, a little bitty fray of just one copper piece might be touching this other side, and that can actually cause a direct short right away. And in a worse scenario, it can actually even burn your wires inside your transformer. The third thing that you're gonna see is a plug. You know, once again, this plug, if nothing's gonna be plugged into it, like a secondary timer or some type of module that you're using to control the transformer with, and it's unplugged, it's not gonna turn on. So you're gonna need to have this plugged into a timer, which is then plugged into your transformer here, or you've got to make sure that this is plugged in at all times so the transformer is operatable. These are some of the basic things, some of the things that you need to be testing. So just to review, you want to test your amp load down here on your secondary side, and you'll take a look at your transformer that you're looking at to refer to. A lot of times, for most transformers, on a 300 watt, it is around 25 amps. And then on a primary side, you're looking at 2.5 amps on the primary side. So this is a transformer made by Light Tech. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.